Today in my persuasive speech, specifically about policy, I'm going to be talking about NASA and other space programs and why we should fund them and continue using them as research and in advancements in technology and stuff like that, and why we should continue to fund them because of stuff that they created. And today I'm going to be talking about those things that have been created and some of those research things that that the NASA and SpaceX and other space organizations have found, and because of that, we should continue to fund these and stuff like that. So first I'm going to be talking about the technologies that some of these space programs have created. And first of all, I'm going to start off with camera phones. So this is specifically about like cameras in phones, and they actually stem all the way back to NASA trying to figure out ways to fit cameras on like space shuttles and stuff like that and making them more compact so they can fit real nice and stuff like that. And so the reason we have phones in our cameras, that technology stems back all the way to NASA. Some other things like scratch-resistant lenses, so like where I wear glasses, that stems back to some of that technology, as well as CAT scans, which are really important in medical fields and testing and stuff like that. This one I found really interesting was red LED lights actually stem back, which I find really interesting. This one's really cool is actually landmine removers. So stuff that like, what they are is like, they stick in the ground and they actually like almost stab through it without actually setting the mine off, which is pretty interesting. The next, which is actually pretty cool, is it's actually kind of stems back where Nike Air comes from, and athletic shoes actually stem back from when they were creating the uniforms and stuff like that, or the suits and stuff that astronauts wear. Foil blankets, water purification systems, which are really important nowadays. Like we have water filters and stuff on almost everything that requires water. Other things like ear thermometers and home insulation that we have on our walls. Like the reason for the insulation was when you think of like the spacecraft and stuff, they're in like the cold temperatures of space, or where it's pretty unpredictable compared to Earth is, and so that's kind of like where the stuff that we have on our walls, inner walls, stem back from NASA using that in their aircraft. Wireless headsets are another thing that we kind of consider like almost everyone has today, at least in the Western world. The reason the researchers and stuff created these so that the astronauts could be hands-free and go around and do things while still being able to hear each other and contact each other, which is pretty interesting, which that goes forward today where like we have like wireless earphones and stuff like that, and now we have AirPods that have like no wires whatsoever, so it's like completely wireless, which I found really interesting. Memory foam, so you have memory foam pillows, comes from there. Freeze-dried food, which is really important. The reasoning for that was so that they could store food really nice, and it would actually last a longer time because it was freeze-dried. Baby formula, which I think is this is one of the most interesting things I found, is baby formula. The ingredients and stuff that are found in it stem back to NASA and stuff because they wanted food that would last a long time, and would the ingredients and stuff in baby formula stems back from them trying to find that, which is pretty interesting. Artificial limbs are another thing that comes back from NASA because of the robotics and stuff like that. That technology stems back to NASA. Another thing that stems back from NASA as well, and NASA has a lot on this list, especially early on during the space race, the computer mouse stems back from NASA. We think of this in every day and stuff that like people use for computers. It stems back because they were trying to figure out a way, an easier, faster way to figure out how to access computer data on a screen compared to just like typing. So that's where they created the computer mouse so they can access that better and faster. And then another one is the portable computers, so like laptops and stuff like that. Easy to carry around and stuff like that. That technology stems back from, I think it wasn't NASA, but it was another space company. And moving on from the technology side of things, but even still, the importance of that technology, a lot of these things we wouldn't have, or at least we wouldn't have yet today, are like a lot of these things, like artificial limbs, like we wouldn't have that. People wouldn't be able to walk if it weren't for this technology that was being created, that came out of the space race. And in that, I'm calling that like an indirect creation of space exploration. When you think of space exploration, you're thinking of like, you're looking at quasars, planets, stars and stuff like that. But this was indirectly created from that, which is pretty interesting, and it's really important stuff. A lot of this, like, our world would look different if it weren't for those things. If we didn't have home insulation, our houses probably wouldn't be as warm or cold and stuff like that. It's just pretty interesting. And now I'm going to be talking about some of the direct stuff that the NASA and space exploration companies have done, and that have been things like, like, for example, Pluto has more moons than originally thought. So we consider a planet almost like a moon, or like just a dwarf planet is what they call it itself. But actually, with some of the information that they've gathered from like the Hubble telescope, and then the space station or satellite that went by it, took some pictures of it, and they were like, oh, there's more moons than we thought. And so in a way, it's like, maybe this could be more of a planet. It kind of put, when that thing went by Pluto, it brought Pluto back into the conversation of what is a dwarf planet and what's a rogue planet. Another that is, they actually found a 10th planet in our solar system, including Pluto. And it's actually a planet it's considered a dwarf planet too, but it's actually smaller. It's named Eris. It's smaller than Pluto, and so that was found with like the Hubble telescope and some of these other things. We're like, hey, there's a 10th planet like that we didn't know about. Other things, they found like Jupiter has an ocean that they didn't know about. One of its moons actually, they found an ocean on, which there's a planet with water, or a moon out there with water. And they did the same thing with the moon here. They found water, like frozen ice and stuff. Another one is they've been finding planets, like this one planet called Europa, with actual signs of life on it that we didn't know about. So some of the stuff that we're finding through space exploration, we wouldn't have known about unless we did this research and stuff like that. And I think it's just really important, like some of this technology that we create with it, and some of this stuff we find out about other planets and about our own planet, that just benefit the world as a whole, especially on the technology side. Like, just to get out there and explore stuff, just the stuff that is created, whether it's directly or indirectly from NASA, has been amazing. Like, if we didn't have CAT scans, like, that'd be a whole different world when it came to the medical field and stuff like that. And that's why I just think it's so important, why we should fund these programs and stuff, is because of the advancements in technology that it's created, and just how much beneficial it has been to have them as almost creators of this technology, to better the world, whether from wireless earbuds that is created nowadays to CAT scans and artificial limbs and things on that nature. They've really benefited the world, whether leisurely or medically. They've done a lot in our culture, and have been really beneficial to our society and stuff like that. That I think really should be funded, if not funded more, but continue to fund. That way we can have even more advancements in technology, like, in the past 50-40 years that the space exploration has been going on, we've had all this stuff come in, and this is just a portion of what I've found of what has come from the space program. But in the next 40-50 years, what's next to come from exploring space and creating technology to go even further out in space? And I just think it's really important, and I really hope that in this speech that you got something, the importance of the space exploration, and the companies like NASA, SpaceX, and why it's important that we should continue to fund these companies and to continue in space research and space exploration, if not just for the space itself, the science and all that, but for the technology that it also creates that benefit our lives leisurely, medically, psychologically, and stuff like that, that just make our lives better and easier and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed this speech, and thank you.